The story of the Chinese settling in Western Australia started just a few months after the proclamation of the Swan River Colony in 1829. A young Chinese carpenter named Moon Chow disembarked from the ship the Emily Taylor and became the first Chinese person to arrive on the colony shores and begin the Chinese tale of life in Australia. From their earliest days, they have woven their values and spirit with the West. Their story is one of survival, endurance, discrimination, loneliness, but also prosperity and joy. Sharing the good times and the bad, and contributing much to the fabric of this country we all call our home. There is no doubt the early Chinese settlers had many obstacles to overcome. They had restricted working hours and were forced to pay higher factory registration fees. And although Chinese laundries and furniture factories bore the brunt of the anti-Chinese legislation, their strength, endurance and spirit assured their businesses survived. This community spirit was instrumental in establishing the Chung Wah Association. This much needed and very special association helped the Chinese stand together and protest against the discrimination they had to deal with in their early years as settlers. The Chung Wah Association played a vital role in the social and cultural welfare of the Chinese community, helping them to find a place and belong in this new country that was now their home. And so it was on this day, October 12, 1910, the foundation stone was laid by Sir Edward Stone, WA's Lieutenant Governor, and on Chinese New Year in 1911, the building was officially declared open by Louis Wah Louis. The Chung Wah Association had officially begun. In its first years, the hall was a venue for social occasions. These social events were a means to fundraise not only to pay back the mortgage on the land and building, but also to raise money for the association's welfare work. The Great Depression in the 1930s made it almost impossible for small Chinese business to continue, and most of the Chinese who had arrived in the 1890s were retiring and wanting to return home to China for their remaining years. 1939, and Australia was at war. Some Australian Chinese were so determined to play their part that they lied about their age and forged their parents' signatures. They served the nation with pride and distinction. In 1933, there were just 705 Chinese living in Western Australia. By 1947, this number had dropped to just 385. The community was kept alive by a small number of families. These families were instrumental in the survival of the Chung Wah Association. And in 1969, there was a move started to rejuvenate the association once again. The move was further strengthened by the timely visit of the Ambassador of the Republic of China, Samson C. Shen, and later a National Day reception organised by the Chinese Consul in Perth for all the members of the Chinese community. This did much to restore their excitement. In the mid-70s, the association started to publish a regular newspaper in both English and Chinese to cater to the needs of the new non-English speaking immigrants. A Chinese class for children was formed, and the association was invited to contribute towards an ethnic radio broadcast with the production of a weekly Chinese radio program. Immigration regulations changed and allowed families to come to Australia without formal qualifications. This meant families could reunite, parents could join their children, and together they could make Australia their new home. With all this growth, the Chung Wah Association could no longer cater for all the needs of their members, and in 1984, new land was purchased in Balcatta for a new hall to be built. The association today has come a long way from its earliest beginnings. The Chung Wah continues to promote Chinese culture in the wider community. The Chinese now very much part of Australia and the Australian way of life.
I'm Jenny Chong, the Honorary Secretary for the Chung Wah Association. The other important area for the association is education, and we currently have 5 Chinese schools. We also have our community and aged care branch and provide essential services for aged care and members of the Perth community. I'm also in charge of all the cultural groups at the association. One of the major events for Chung Wah Association is the Perth Chinese New Year Fair. This event brings the whole community together. It's for the local community to celebrate Chinese New Year, as well as for all overseas Chinese.
So today, I'm very pleased to announce to you all that in next year's budget, we'll have $5 million. Providing that support for the Chung Wah and for the Chinese community of Western Australia so you can have the very, very best of facilities for those purposes. And I'm sure it'll be much used. And in future years, I'm very hopeful you'll invite me back to open it.
I think this is the first government capital grant and represent the most important milestone in our 110 history.
On behalf of Chung Wah Association, I would like to thank all of you in participation of celebration for our 110th anniversary. I wish you all the best in Year of Ox. Thank you very much.